My interest in landscape is really to try to bring a sense of what is out there, what I encounter on field trips, into the gallery, and not replicate that, but I suppose give an echo of that. Last year I'd had a show of oil paintings and been working with heavier mediums, but I realised if I was going to do a big work, it had to be something that I could work with more quickly. And I quite quickly thought, well, what about a large-scale charcoal drawing? I still don't, talking about it as a drawing feels a bit wrong to me. It's just an artwork, really, but obviously the charcoal was a direct, literal sort of connection to working from images of a burnt area of the bush. So I decided to work on paper. It's a watercolour paper, 300 GSM, if you want all the technical information. It's hot pressed paper, so it's reasonably smooth rather than a heavily textured one. And I've put a layer of watercolour underneath the charcoal, and that's a really important aspect of the work, this combination of wet and dry media. And interestingly, working with the charcoal, one of the aims that we've been working with here is how do you take a very dry, porous media like charcoal and make it give the illusion of wetness. So that's to me been a really interesting element of the making of the work, if you like, and is this sort of, you know, rubbing back the charcoal, rubbing with cloth the charcoal into the grain of the paper where the watercolour sits, and they do intermingle in quite a symbiotic way. I thought it'd be really good with the high ceilings to make a work that went floor to ceiling so that it towered over you. And of course the other thing about that is that it gives a sense of being in the forest. Cézanne used to talk a lot about that, and there's a lovely French term, sous-bois. He talked about his preferred painting position was under the wood, you know, not outside and looking at it externally, but embedding himself in the forest so that the sort of the crisscrossing nature of the limbs and the foliage and the light really gave him a lot to paint about. So I suppose one of the main foundation points for the work was literally doing that. I sort of crept underneath some overhanging branches of a burnt banksia, put my back against the burnt trunk, and I did take a 360-degree series of photographs through the overhanging branches, the black cones, and importantly in the sand underfoot were the first shoots of the new banksias that were growing from the released seeds. So it was a very potent sort of space, and that series of sort of photographs, that 360-degree things, was the foundation for what I'm hoping to, you know, not replicate but sort of echo in the work. I'm in a very privileged position working here at ECU. I work with some amazing people, both on staff and in the student body, and I did put out the call that in the mid-year break that I'd be occupying the painting studio and I'm in need of helpers. What I didn't anticipate, or didn't really think about, was what that meant. You know, it's not something I've really ever done before, work with a group of people on the actual artwork. And what's evolved is this lovely diversity of the manual mark in the work. And yeah, of course I'm the only person that came into the work with the overall thing in my head that I have to carry, and sometimes I'll say, oh, today we're going to work in this way or that way with this emphasis, and yes, I'll go back into areas and overwork them, or like with the Trateggio, someone will do a loving little page and then I'll come and put vertical lines on it. So, you know, that's interesting. Have been not too many complaints, but not that I've heard, but so there's a bit of that. But generally, what's been a really nice thing for me is to see evidence of the multiple hands, and it's a very populated work in that way, and for me conceptually that's added something really extra value to the work.